Welcome to Real Chat with Kat, the podcast that's all about real conversations for real transformation. I'm your host, Kat Polsinelli, professional speaker, MC, and best-selling international author. Here, we tackle the tough stuff, the mud that we all have found ourselves in. We talk about the pivots, the challenges, and the victories that shape our lives and our businesses. From overcoming trauma and finding your voice to navigating life's unexpected twists, we get raw, honest, and open. You'll hear from inspiring guests who share their stories of resilience, healing, and growth. Whether it's breaking through emotional abuse, embracing self-worth, or thriving in entrepreneurship, you'll find connection, empowerment, and the tools to keep you moving forward. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and get ready for stories that hit home and conversations that make a difference. Let's get real together. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of Real Chat with Kat. I am so excited to see you today, or to hear you, to have you listen to us today, and have you just be a part of this. You know, as we're coming to quarter four in 2025, I know everybody is starting to think of all the things we want to do to the end of this year, and hopefully you're also thinking about where you want to take your life or your business into 2026. And so I feel like, which has been really awesome, that a lot of the podcasts I've had in the last couple of weeks have really been about like creating that stabilization and that future or that goal, and then how do we move it into that space, which is why I'm super excited to have Samantha today, because I think that this is a really, really interesting topic for people to be aware of. And also, you've done a lot of different things. You've been in a lot of different spaces. You've lived in a lot of different areas. And I love this. So, and your reason behind why you do what you do is wonderful as well. So, thank you for so much for joining us for the podcast today.
Oh, Kat, I'm super excited to be here. And I love that you bring up, kind of what stabilization looks like in 2026 and looking at those kind of foundations to set it now. I saw something the other day on TikTok. I'm on the witchy side of TikTok. I don't know if you guys have been over on there, but
Uh-oh.
Witch Talk, great. I think it's a fantastic, really like positive space that's like, you know what, the world's on fire. And we're gonna bury some stuff in the dirt and try to fix it that way, okay?
I
Um,
love it.
and one of the creators over on Witch Talks pointed out that everybody makes New Year's resolutions, right, at the turn of the year. And
Hmm.
the reality is, if we're looking at the seasons, at the turn of the year, that's already when, the leaves have fallen off the trees. That's when the grass is dried up. That's when nothing's growing anymore. The reality is the way that she looked at it was when we're trying to deal with things outside of our own little bubble, we have to plant those foundations in the spring and we get to harvest them now in the fall. And for us as humans, for us as individuals, now is the time to plant those foundations so we can reap them in the spring, right? Summer is for growing things outside of us. Winter is for growing things within us. So setting
Mm.
your foundations now, setting your resolutions now, right? At the time of this recording, the fall of 2025, the fall of any time, well, fall in the northern hemisphere at least. Right now it's
Yeah, there
spring
we
for me.
go.
It's wonderful. Is really a fantastic time because we start taking that energy inward, right? We start focusing more on ourselves, our homes, prepping for the holidays. We're not running around chasing, baseball games or the sunny day at the beach or whatever the case may be, right? That makes us go kind of crazy in the summer because we are trying to keep up with this very hectic schedule of all these external things. So now is the time where we can be like, okay, looking inward on ourselves and then, a little bit on what we want next year to look like and starting to, I don't know, you want to look great by using the trope, right? You want to look great, you want to have the beach body by next summer. You should start now, right? It's not starting on January 1st.
Mm.
So I love the idea of approaching this whole conversation as we get into this with kind of that idea in mind of we're laying the foundations for ourselves, our inner work now.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. And what's really interesting too is like 2 years ago, I got away from like the resolutions on January 1st. And I really kind of use this
Yeah.
time as like my little cocoon because, when it's cooler outside, you want to be more by the fire and just kind of enjoy being snuggled up and stuff like that. And I started utilizing it as a space for like me to take time for me. And that's what I've
Yes.
done over the last couple of years, which has been really cool. So like between after Christmas and the week after New Year's, that's like my space to just like reset, redo some stuff. Every year, since then, I have purged my socials, who I follow, who I don't want to
Mm,
see on my space anymore. I purged my laptop and some of the stuff I know I don't need anymore. Did I look at this? Am I going to look at it? No, delete it. Like I
right.
just start getting rid of a lot of things. And that way, going into that new year, like I feel like I'm starting on a fresh slate
Oh,
in the
that's fantastic.
direction that I want to go. And I really, really enjoyed that. And it was really cool the first year that I did it because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm still following this person. Like, I don't even like this
Right.
anymore. And it was funny too, because like some of it
Right.
you don't even see it on your page, but I was like, I don't even think I want that energy in my space. So like we'll delete it.
Yes.
It's okay. I can unfollow. And what's really interesting, at least for me, is when you start doing those kinds of things, you get like those little pinches of like, oh, but what if they know that I'm unfollowing them? And so
They
it's
don't
really
know. They don't
interesting,
know. They
right?
don't get, they don't care enough. I promise. Let that one go. But yeah,
But
no, but that feeling is there.
isn't it interesting? And so it's like it's that outside of like you're still worried about other people. And so making the space to do that and being like, nope, that's okay. Like I'm putting myself first and what's important that I want to be around and what I want to view
Yeah.
and what I want to see, like has been so refreshing to be able to
It
do.
is.
And I think it's kind of like, taking back a piece of that power within yourself, which I know you talk about a lot in your business, especially when we're talking about trademarks and things like that, and having and owning that power within your business if it makes sense for you. And so, as we kind of dive into this as well, I'd love for you to give everybody a little bit of a background of who you are and what it is that you do as well, because I know we're going to kind of dive into a plethora of topics.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, this is going to be a wide-ranging discussion, I'm quite sure. That being said, I think, and just kind of reiterating on this again, something that in the past couple of years I've really been leaning into is that, uh, as basic as this sounds, right? Life has seasons. It has seasons to plant, it has seasons to grow, it has seasons to curl up on your couch in something soft and fluffy. And kind of leaning into those seasons and that more rotational nature of life. Not every day is the same. It's not. It's not meant to
mhm,
be. It would be boring if it was. You wouldn't have the amazing tomatoes that we have in the summer and the wonderful pomegranates in the winter, right? If life was the same every day. So accepting that we go through seasons of different stages in our life and even just different stages of the day, right? They demand different things. And if we work with that, we're almost giving ourselves permission to sit on the couch and be cozy in the winter, right? And run around like a madman in the summer because there's too many things happening. And both of those are amazing to have. So, anyway, that being, like I said, I've been on Witch Talk, maybe too much. I think it's an amazing place. You should go check it out.
I love it. Now, I know that you created this wonderful company, and I'm sorry, it's based or it's licensed in Virginia, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so give me a little bit of a background into, exactly what this, because I know you're an IP lawyer, and I don't think that
Yeah.
anybody really is going to understand what that means. So can you give us a
And if
little
you
bit of a
do, call
background?
me. Can we nerd out? Please, like, come find me.
I'll make sure we have her information in the show notes. So give everybody a little bit like what is an IP lawyer? What is
Yeah.
trademark? Like what is
Yeah.
inline legal?
Yeah. So let's start with what is intellectual property. And I'm going to use the very cheesy line of it is something you see every single day of your life in a very capitalistic society like America. It is impossible not to see it. The radio or the device that you are listening to us or watching us on was made by a company that has a brand name. You bought that particular device or that particular car or that particular radio Probably because of the brand name. You have some idea that this company makes a certain level, a certain quality of thing, and you're like, no, I want that one. And that's why you have these fights between people that are like, oh no, I'm an Apple girly, and other folks that are like, no, Samsung all the way. I'm
Yeah.
over here with my Pixel phone, like, I don't know, Google. I'm just gonna be the weird one hanging out here in the corner. Um, the protection of this, of who made the thing that you're buying, that you're interacting with, this is trademark. Simply enough. And making sure that only that company can use that name selling that thing. Let me explain a bit more. There's a reason why Dove soap and Dove chocolate in the United States can both exist. Because no one's going to think that the soap company is making chocolate. No one's going to think that the chocolate company is making soap unless Dove decides to go full Willy Wonka, and then we're going to have a whole trademark battle. It's going to be a thing. But that being said, we allow people to operate in different industries with the same name, but we never want a consumer, we never want a buyer, we never want a customer to be confused by saying, oh, wow, no, but I thought that was so and so's product. I thought that was so and so's service. Because then you're duping the customer. So this is a form of consumer protection at its base, trademark. And then for companies, trademarks, when they sell their companies, and you can go ask Huda from Huda Beauty, or the woman who founded Dry Bar, trademark is 90% of the time when you're trying to sell your company, they are buying your operations, your SOPs, your best practices, and your trademark. They're buying the brand.
Mm.
They're buying all of that goodwill that a company has built into it. That's what creates these like massive company sale prices. Second, within the IP side, we also have copyright, which is I wrote a song, I wrote a book, I made a video, I recorded this podcast, and now as the person who created it, I took a picture. As the person who created it, the moment I created it and somebody else could watch it, listen to it, touch it, feel it, engage with it, I had a copyright protection in it. And if somebody wants to steal it and copy it directly, that's not cool because they are copying my right in my work. See, copyright. Ta. And then
Ta-da!
the third one, it's not as hard as we think, I promise. And then the third one is patent. So these are the three kind of legs of IP, and patent is, I am not a patent attorney. Let me be very, very clear. Patent attorneys are brilliant people that I cannot fathom how brilliant they are, actually. Because in order to be a patent attorney, you must have at least a bachelor's degree in a hard science. So
Wow.
chemistry, physics, biology, and then
Okay.
you go to law school. And most of the patent attorneys, they actually have masters and PhDs in hard sciences. So if you think lawyers are scary, go meet a patent attorney. They freak me out. Uh, I have so much respect for what they do, and it terrifies me.
That's a lot. That's a lot of
It's a
knowledge
lot.
just for,
It's a
yeah.
lot. So these are the folks that they protect inventions. When you've created something brand new, you invented the light bulb, you invented the way to make a car on an assembly line that suddenly makes them accessible for the average population, right? These processes, these new things, these are the things that patent attorneys help people get patents on. So we've got trademarks, copyright, and patent. These are the three legs of intellectual property. I work within the trademark and copyright space. So that means I normally wind up helping businesses protect their brand, right? Especially if they want to sell, expand, or even if they just want to make sure they're not, accidentally stealing somebody else's brand. Because there's only so
Hmm.
many words of English language, right? We literally have a limit on how many brand names we can have.
Very true. Very
Uh,
true.
Right. And then copyright, of course, you have your creators, you have your influencers, you have your photographers, florists, writers, songwriters. All of these people are creating these beautiful things that, of course, they want at minimum credit for and ideally some money for. And
Hmm.
in the music industry, especially in the past couple, probably 15 years or so, I've seen a lot of
Yeah.
pushback from artists that are like, no, no,
Yep.
no, I made this. I get to own it. I get to profit from it. Not you,
Hmm.
big record label or big record company. This is mine. And I want the rights to profit off of that.
Hmm.
So all of that leads really wonderfully into why do I feel so strongly about intellectual property? And it's exactly this, because forever, um, the folks who generally have been the creators of these amazing things have been systemically, historically, legally locked out of profiting from them, of the actual ownership from them. How many books were on your high school reading list that were written by somebody who had to use a pseudonym because they couldn't legally publish at the time, right? Or
Mm.
because nobody would talk to them, even if they could legally publish. And if they could legally publish, they probably gave the profits to their husband or their father or a brother, or they set up fake bank accounts in a cousin's name so they could get the money because they wouldn't give that person the money for the thing they created. This works in copyrights too, or sorry, in trademarks too. Um, we have seen again and again, somebody will be sitting in a boardroom and come up with the name for something. That name goes viral, and it's somebody on the lower level team. And that person doesn't even get a bonus
Yeah.
for coming up with the name that launches, a small empire. And that's the kind of stuff that I am hoping our firm can make a small dent in the world and fighting back against.
I think that's wonderful. And it's really interesting. And I love that you brought up, in companies, because you think about how
Oh
many
yeah.
companies that they're like, oh no, we're all going to brainstorm together. And then you have that one person that comes up with something that the company rolls with, and they kind of get left in the
Yeah,
background because,
yeah.
they are the ones that have the capital. They are the ones that can push it. They are the ones that,
Yep.
can build it. And I think it's really interesting to think of how much we don't realize what we don't own, both
Yeah.
as business owners, as creators, and
Oh, how
it's
about as a
really,
consumer?
yeah,
Just as a consumer, just as a person like existing in an economy, I read voraciously. It's I think I scare my husband a little bit. To be quite honest, he's concerned at how much I read sometimes. Anyway, that being said, I have an ebook reader, and to not fill my house with mountains of physical books,
makes sense.
I get ebooks. And what folks don't seem to realize is when they get an ebook, no matter where they get it from, whether you're buying it from Kobo, Amazon, whoever, right? And Kobo,
Hmm.
by the way, I recommend. Awesome. They're much nicer to their people than Amazon.
Okay.
Terms of service. Look, I read a lot. I read the terms of service. I told you, if you want to, if you want to nerd out, let's go. Please send me a message. Um, and the reality is, if you're a voracious reader like me and you're getting ebooks, I do not, even if I buy the ebook on Amazon, right? Just that's an easier one that most folks are familiar with. I don't own
Hmm.
it. I don't own it. Because what is ownership? And like, let's take the idea of a house. If I own a house, I have the right to live in it. I have the right to rent it out. I can rent out part of it and live in half. I can invite my friends over and throw a party. I can become a hermit and tell nobody to come anywhere near it and, get off my lawn. And I can sell it because I own it, because those are all the rights
Mm.
of ownership. When I buy, quote unquote, an ebook on Amazon, I don't own it. I have gotten a license to use it on my specific device for a while, but
Mm.
I cannot give it to a friend. I can't loan that book to a friend. I can't resell it. I don't own it. You thought you bought something. No, you paid for a license. It's the same thing if you want to watch a movie or a TV show and you buy it from, I don't know, whoever you watch your TV on now. There's so many providers. Honestly, easier at
10,000.
cable, I think. Um, And now you're like, okay, yeah, it gives you the option, right? You can rent it for the night for, I don't know, $2.99, or you can
Yep.
buy it, quote unquote, for $14.99. You still haven't bought it. You still don't have the ability to resell it, to loan it to somebody. It
Ooh,
exists
yeah.
only on your device in this account. Like ownership is something that we don't necessarily realize, particularly in like the gig economy and the rental economy and the Uber economy. Um, it has changed dramatically what we think of for access. We have traded in a lot of ways convenience for true ownership.
Mm.
And if you don't want to be bothered with maintaining a car and all that comes with that, because look, that's a lot, right? And you just want to take shared taxis, ride shares around. That's cool, but have no, you know, false ideas about the fact that you own anything in that. You have
Yeah.
rented that car for a short amount of time. And in IP, when we're talking about ideas, ideas are the things that create economies. Ideas are the things that allow people to earn enough money to create good lives for themselves, really good lives for themselves. So it's important to me that folks understand that when they have these ideas, knowing who owns it and who's going to benefit from it and what you're trading for that ease of access, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have to understand what that is to be able to make an informed choice about what you're okay with doing. If you give the idea at your workplace, your boss probably owns it outright because most things you do as an employee are owned by your boss immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately. And that should come with benefits for you. And if it doesn't, we need to renegotiate the agreement that we entered into, formally or informally,
Mm-hmm.
right? Minimum bonus, minimum.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting. You were talking about this earlier about the terms and conditions that
Mm.
we see everywhere, right? It's on almost absolutely everything that
Yep,
you sign up for. And I guarantee
absolutely.
you that 98% of us see, oh, terms and conditions, click that we read it, and we move on about our lives because
Yeah,
we're not worried about it. It's way too much to read,
it
right?
is.
And we just want to be able to get to whatever it is that we want to be able to get to. Can you give us a little bit of an insight in regards to what could be in those terms and conditions? Like, does it make
Ooh.
sense for a regular consumer to like read through all those pages? Or is there something specific maybe we should be looking out for in things? Because I have heard, and then this is the reason why I bring this up, I
Yeah.
heard about a situation with Disney. It's been all
Uh-huh.
over the internet.
Oh
Do you know what
boy.
I'm talking about?
I'm gonna let you tell the story.
Okay, so I
Disney scares
heard,
me.
yeah, so I heard about an issue with Disney, and it's
Uh-huh.
related to Disney Plus, and it was a
Uh-huh.
family, a husband and wife, that went to Disney, and I believe it was food that she was given after she was told she was
Sure.
allergic or something, and she ended up passing away. And when the husband went
Oh,
to sue Disney, Disney said, "Oh, I'm sorry, you can't." Because when you clicked on the terms and conditions to Disney Plus, you gave away that right. And I was like, "Oh
ooh.
my God, we did what? Like, where's my terms and conditions for Disney Plus? Like, I need to go, first off, how is that even legal? But like, besides that, so as a consumer, how important is us to take that time to read those, or is there something we should just kind of generically
Ah,
be looking for things like that? Because think about the normal person, and I'm totally guilty of this. I sign up for
yeah.
something, I know that I want it, I pay for it, and I'm like, yeah, cool, terms and conditions. I know you're going to take my information, blah 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 blah, and I go on about my business
Yeah.
because I need to get it done. But then there's things like this that have been coming out of the woodworks that
Yeah.
is scary as someone that is just generally using something that I'm paying for and realizing that I'm having rights taken away from me in that moment.
Yeah. Oh,
I feel like you had
this
a
is
different story with Disney.
I had to look at Disney employs some of the best attorneys in the world, and they have a massive legal team. Um, and they are not afraid to like take a hammer down on somebody repeatedly and make it heavier each time if they feel that anything in their world is being attacked,
Mm,
whether that's true or not. So if anyone listening is doing like cute stuff on Etsy that's, Disney inspired,
yes.
please don't. Disney's gonna come for you. I know there was a photographer that did like a Grinch themed pop-up photo shoot to have people take pictures of their kids with the Grinch, right? So you could send it out on the Christmas card. Seems relatively harmless, but the Grinch is a trademarked character, and Disney does not play. they came down on the photographer like a hammer. So anyway, that
It's
being said, just
crazy.
Disney's kind of they have teams of lawyers that scour Etsy, Amazon, any of the co-shared selling sites for this kind of stuff regularly. About once a quarter, actually, you'll see a massive list of, "Hey, you're stealing our stuff. Go out. You owe us money. Shut it
Wow.
down now." Um, and this is the power of intellectual property, by the way, because you can. If it's
Hmm.
your idea, you have the right to do that. Now, whether Disney should go at it so aggressively or be like, "Hey, that's so nice. We actually do a licensing agreement and you pay us like $500 a year instead for
Yeah.
you little small Etsy creator?" I think that would be a much better option, but I'm more of a collaborative than a hammer person. Hey. All right, so away from Disney for a second. By the way, Disney, that is my sell to be your lawyer. You'll make more money that way. People will like you more. Hello? All right, let me rein it
Ta-da.
in.
No, just
Sorry.
kidding.
Sorry. Back to terms and conditions. Starting point is every couple years there is some big company that goes out and they're like, okay, what are the services that the average American, Canadian, European person is using this year? And let's get all the terms and conditions together for it, and let's figure out how long it would take to read them. And it doesn't matter which version of the study you've looked at for this. The numbers change a little bit every time, but the reality is it is not possible for the average person to have their own life and read all of these terms and conditions, much less understand the ramifications of them.
Yeah.
And that is by design. And we have seen globally efforts from various governments to force companies to write these things in a more simple, in a more concise, in a more easy to read, easy to understand way. And what happens is the governments make these laws. The companies are like, oh no, our bad. They hire the lawyer. We rewrite it. We try to make it simpler. And then something crazy happens because this is why law, especially in the US, is so big. Because somebody does something bizarre, we sue over it, and then everyone's like, "Oh God, we gotta write a line in the contract about that every
Yep.
single event, right?"
Every time. Yeah.
And that's the way that the American system is set up. Unfortunately, it creates these crazy long contracts. When I was working primarily with like European and countries from the Gulf, when I would write the contracts, they're like, "Why is it so long?" I'm like, "Because your counterpart is American, and this won't stand up. Your version of a contract, your shorter version of a contract, will not stand up in American court because we don't have the same protections already in the law that are assumed to
Mm.
apply to every contract." So this is why we get these crazy long terms and conditions. And simply to answer your question, no, it's not possible for you to read everything, and certainly not Disney Plus, which you were just streaming, and understand that you don't own their stuff and you can't rent it out to somebody else and you can't,
Yeah.
resell it. That's the core of what should be in their stuff. Of we own it. We're giving you the right for your child to watch it so they're not screaming at you during, the witching hour. Pay us some money for that. Thank you, bye. Right? That should be the core of it. And don't sue us if your kid sees something and I don't know, has a trauma 5 years down the road and has to go to therapy because you weren't watching what they were watching.
Very
But
true.
see, like we have to think about that stuff when we're writing these contracts, when we're writing terms and conditions, because that's what they are. They're contracts. It becomes exhausting for us and the consumer. It's impossible for the consumer. It's exhausting for the lawyers. The companies are just trying to protect themselves or be like overly aggressive about it sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. As far as the Disney Plus thing, while we were talking, I did a little bit of a deep dive on it.
Uh-oh.
And because, I can, and AI exists now, which is great.
Ta-da.
So that being said, the summary that I'm looking at is from AI. I have not confirmed if these are the true facts. I see links and quotes from the Times, like the New York Times and the BBC, so
Hmm.
I assume they're reputable. Um, but yeah, absolutely. The woman died after having an allergy attack, and because he had agreed to the Disney Plus arbitration clause when they got a free trial of the streaming service, right? So even, and this is important, right? Even when you get the free trial, the terms and conditions still apply, even if you haven't paid them yet. Um, they wanted to force it to go through arbitration, which is essentially retired judges that sit in a private room and say, okay, we're going to decide what this means instead of in a courtroom. And yeah, the internet blew up and was like, that's insane. Disney Plus and Disney Parks are not, how do
Mm-hmm.
these apply to the same things? Disney backed off and allowed it to go to court. I don't know what the resolution
Ah,
was. Knowing Disney, it was likely a settlement and they paid it off and
yeah.
told her to go away.
Yes.
I'm making an assumption. I have no idea. Let me be very
Just
clear. Um,
however, based on the
Based on what I've seen, that is
backstories
probably where that went. Yeah.
for every
So they
large
probably,
company
yeah,
across the
yeah. Now, look, if you're a large company, there is a settlement fund. You set aside a specific amount of your revenue to say, this is a problem we literally just don't want to talk about. Pay them. How much money will it take to make you go away? Because that's a good business practice. Is it a great consumer practice? Depends. But it is a good business practice.
we live in a
Like they're
crazy world. Just
scary. They're scary, but they're
just
good. Like
live in a crazy world, everybody. No,
it's
but thank
yeah,
you for explaining this because again, I just don't think that we as consumers and even as business owners, like we're just there's just so much out
there's so
there
much. There's so
to
much.
try to consume that you don't even know
Oh,
where to begin. And there's
it's
not people
impossible.
out there teaching it to understand to begin with, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I just learned about trademarks a few years ago. And
Yeah.
I mean, I knew about copyright because I love music. So I understood
Sure.
all of that, but like trademark didn't make sense to me. And then I started talking with a couple of friends who were trying to do something like that. And I was like, but why? Like, why does it matter?
But
So
why?
I
What does
want
this
to ask
do?
you
Why would I
this.
do that?
Yeah, and I know that you've got a quiz that we're gonna make sure we drop in the show notes as well. But when does it make sense for someone then to go through
Mm,
trademark? Because I understand that that's not necessarily for everyone. Maybe you're
yeah.
not planning on going this high on your scale, but like so I understand that it may not make sense for everyone that is in business. So when would it make sense for this to be something to look into?
Yeah. So I got to start with the lawyer answer of, it depends. Sorry.
Of course.
Apologies. It does.
Thanks, Samantha. I'm just
Uh,
kidding.
I mean, look, the people don't like my profession for a reason, and I get it. I wish the
Yeah.
rules were simpler. So I will give you the simplest ones that I can think of that are like, definitely. Um, any business that has dreams of exiting, which what does this mean? It means selling to somebody, selling to a bigger company. Uh, Most business acquisitions that we've seen from solo founders or two founders, so we've just got one or two people in the company. We're not talking like that started the company. We're not
Hmm.
talking these massive, global corporate things. Uh, when they sell, the biggest part of what people are paying for is the trademark, is the brand reputation, is the right to use that phrase.
Mm.
Um, Dry Bar is an amazing example of this. It was founded by a woman and her brother or her cousin. I don't remember who. Literally in her garage, she had curly hair and she was tired of not being able to have people do like Victoria's Secret style blowouts, that big wavy
Hmm.
vibe from the 90s. Um, Nobody could figure out how to do that. She's like, you know what? Screw this. I'm done. I figured out how to do it. And now I'm going to tell everybody else with curly hair how to do it. So I'm going to go around to their houses and I'm going to make their hair this wavy, light, airy, voluminous thing. And eventually, demand got so high that she opened a service place for it where all they did was blowouts, right? All they did was
Hmm.
blow dries. Uh, and eventually, it was like, oh no, but we need very specific tools for this, very specific heat tools to help it go
Hmm.
faster, to help it go better. Uh, so she sold eventually the name of Dry Bar to a company that was like, great, we're going to make all the heat tools and we're going to sell them everywhere. And we're going to charge like a really high amount of money relatively for a blow dryer. Because the brand name of knowing like, oh no, but I get such a good blowout at Dry Bar. Obviously, their hair dryer is going to be amazing and I can kind of do something like it at home.
Mm.
This woman had like over $100 million exit because of a brand name, because of a trademark. So, okay, maybe you're not going that big. But if you plan on selling, part of your negotiating power, part of the price of the company that you're going to sell is going to be the trademark. And when you have it, you're going to be able to get a higher price. So, number
Mm,
one, if you plan on selling your company, exiting at some point, getting investors, this kind of stuff, this is super helpful. Um, Two, if you plan on opening a second location, especially if it's across state lines. Why? Because when you opened your first location and you set up your company, you put in a name into whatever your state corporation commission was to set up your
hmm
LLC or your corporation. They searched your state and said, there's nobody with this exact name in our state. That's not to say the second you go across the state line, there's not somebody with the exact name in that state. When you get a federally registered trademark, you have the presumption that you were the first to use it and you are the one to own it across the entire United States.
Ooh.
Yeah. So this become and even if you're not opening physical locations, if you're selling across state lines, if you're doing services, right? And you can deliver them on Zoom, right? Or you're emailing stuff back and forth with people or having phone
Yeah.
calls and your clients are in a different state. You've already done that. You've already opened your quote unquote second location as far as a trademark is concerned. Um, so that is when it also becomes super important. And it's with the way, I mean, post-pandemic, we all realized that a lot of work could be done online, right? So it opened up huge areas for even micro businesses to be able to access new customers. So more businesses than not are now selling nationally without necessarily trying to.
Yeah.
So it became a lot easier for that kind of stuff. Even if you're like the small candle maker company and you're happening to ship stuff all across the US, same thing. Because you don't want the candle maker in California that you've never heard of and you've never bothered with because you sold one candle in California, get mad because their consumer thought you were them and then they bought from you instead of them. And no, 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 no. Hang on. Forget the trademark. The presumption is the name was yours and the confusion is now their problem, not yours, right?
Mm,
This is really important. And then I think the third one, which is a little more intangible, is just even if you're not doing any of these things, you're not, getting on stages, you're not getting more visible, you're not selling across state lines, you're not planning on selling this business at some point in time. Even if you just want the peace of mind that you don't want to get one of the nasty lawyer letters from, for example, Disney, because of what it is that you're selling and how you're selling it and what you're doing going through the process, even of just having the search to know if the name that you're using for your product or service, to know that it's not already accidentally uh, infringing on or using somebody else's name that's too similar to yours. Because, like I said,
yeah.
there's a limited number of words in the English language. There are. And having, even if the minimum you do is have a lawyer do this like big deep dive search and be like, look, your risk level for trademark infringement is, high, medium, low. Then you
hmm
as the business owner can make the decision whether you're okay with accepting that risk or you want to actually get the trademark and move forward. For me, that's the minimum that anybody selling anything should do, unless the name of your business is completely descriptive, like I don't know, this teacup that I'm drinking out of right now. It's porcelain, it's white and pink and gold. And if all I did was sell teacups and I was like, white teacups, sells teacups, that is completely descriptive of this teacup, I can't trademark that anyway, so I'm not really worried about it. And nobody else can either. Now, if I
Okay.
tell you it's a white, pink, and gold teacup that has oh, what's the character from Beauty and the Beast?
Which
The
one?
actual teapot. Meet the pot, Miss Potts. If I
Oh,
tell
Miss
you this is Miss
Potts.
Potts or Chip, like Chip's
Oh,
teacups, and it
Chip.
looks like Chip, no, Disney's gonna come for me. Don't do that. They are trademarked characters. Okay?
I love Chip. Okay. So no, no, no Chip. I can't sell Chip cups. Okay.
You
I
can't
got
sell
that.
Chip
No.
cups. All
I
right?
love this though. You've broke this down into a level to where like I feel like hopefully my listeners are paying attention. This makes a lot of sense. And I've heard several people
So,
say like you should at least just see if your name is
minimum.
trademarked because if something
Yep.
does happen or you do take it more than what you thought you were going to, you don't want to have to redo everything because somebody already
Oh,
has it. And I have seen
oh,
that done. I have seen
Uh-huh.
that done where it's
And
been
let's,
trademarked and
yeah.
they went to set up their it was a course that they were offering. And
Oh
in the
yeah.
middle of the course launch, they had to rename everything
Everything. Everything. Can you
because of that.
imagine? So we do a sale like once a year to try to make things more accessible. And I just finished wrapping up all the copy for all the emails, the 24 emails that are gonna go out over like a 3 week period or something, because that's what a launch is. That's what a sale is. If you're in the, online service provider space, you know this and you know it well. Plus the sales page, plus the video scripts, plus the
Yep.
social media posts. I added it up last night. Before we get to the social media post, it is 10,000 words.
Wow.
And can you imagine if I had a name for trademark application services, some brand name that I use? I don't because we just go by InLine Legal. That's my company name. We help you get in line. That's our brand. I named my brand based on my own naming recommendations for companies. Like we follow our own rules, I promise. And if I named it, I don't know, carpet ownership. I'm looking at my carpet. I don't know. These names come out of nowhere on podcasts. I'm sorry. If I named it carpet ownership and somebody already owned trademark application services in carpet ownership, they had that name for that industry, which would be weird, but okay. And then they let me know now, today, before we before we even put everything up, I now have to go through 10,000 words and change
Yeah.
every time I mention carpet ownership. And I have to go through every website and every payment page and every social media post and make sure that every graphic we've already created has none of that.
Yep.
And that's not even if this was my business name. If it's my business name, I probably now have to change my domain name. I have to go into my payment provider and change the byline that shows up on people's credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
I have to redo the website, troll it for absolutely every mention of that. God forbid I have physical merch. I can't use any of it now if it has that name on it. I mean, like
Yeah.
it's the logistics of dealing with a forced rebrand when somebody's like, I already own this and it's not you. Shut it down, are exhausting. And I promise you, just the cost in like, even if it's a VA that's making all these changes, the cost in VA time to fix
Yeah.
all of this is probably about what it cost you to get the trademark in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's not
So,
counting the stress and having to delay the launch and throw out all the merch. And
yep.
like, oh my, why? Why? Why would you put yourself in this position? You don't know when the next post is going to go viral, right?
That's true.
Even if you're just an influencer, you
Yep.
don't know. You try, but you don't know.
That's the biggest
You
thing
don't,
now, especially with social media and everything like that,
yeah,
is you never know. You're not in
don't.
control of a lot of the things that you used to be in control of and how you push things out. So, like, you had a strategy to that. There are
Yeah.
so many times that I've met people and they're like, this is what did it and this is what launched it, kind of a thing. And yeah, you think changing your last name is hard on a bunch of different stuff? Try this one.
Oh, that's such a
For some,
perfect analogy. I might start using that. Also, I did not change my last name when I got married, specifically because I was like,
I didn't
nah, we're not doing this. It's
either.
too much work.
I didn't either. So my husband actually was like, you should just keep it. And I was like, really? But it's been who I have been for 30 something years. So I met him just
Exactly.
over 6 years ago and he was like, no, that is who you are. And I'm like, awesome. Oh my God. Okay,
Yeah,
Samantha, we could talk for hours about this, and I
good.
cannot thank you for the amount of knowledge that you have like dropped in
You.
this podcast. So for anybody that is listening, I hope you were taking notes. I know that you've got a quiz, which we'll drop in the show notes. So
Right.
tell everybody where they can
Yeah.
find you and follow you.
Yeah. So, like a good branding lawyer, you can find us on all the things at InLine Legal. So inlinelegal.com, socials are InLine Legal. We're primarily on Instagram and TikTok. Don't find me on Twitter. That is a toxic place, and I refuse to exist on it. However, we did claim our handle on it because I don't want somebody else using it.
Of
Hey,
course.
go do that as well, by the way. Um, and and we do have a trademark quiz, which helps folks if you're interested, if you are a business owner, It does two things. The first part of it helps you figure out if a trademark even makes sense for your business. It walks you through some of the questions that we talked about here and some more in a very non-lawyer way. Because, look, I've seen what other lawyers do. They ask the way the law is written. That is not how normal people speak.
Yeah.
That is not how normal people understand things. That is not how I want my brain to work 75% of the day. So we make sure that it's not legalese. It's not like you're reading dry laws from the 1850s, which I don't recommend. Don't go to law school, kids. I don't. It's not fun. And then the second part of it helps you really understand if the brand name that you've come up with, the company name, the product name, the service name that you're attached to, if it is actually trademarkable. Because like I said, those purely descriptive things, not
Yep.
trademarkable. So we walk you through a series of questions about that. We also talk about if you're using like just your last name, that changes things. I could have totally named this, Bradshaw Legal. I did not. That is harder to trademark. It's also far less memorable, unless I give you Sex and the City references. But then HBO might come after me for making Sex and the City references. So we
It's true.
don't do that because they're trademarked characters, even though it's my name. That would be a fun fight. Also, let's go HBO. Like, you stole my life. Sorry. Total tangent there. You can find the quiz at www.inlinelegal.com/trademark quiz. Real simple to remember.
Oh, thank you so much. And of course, we'll make sure we have all of the information in the show notes. So we'll make it super simple for you to be able to find Samantha, hop on that quiz, take the time to do this. This is important, whether you are going big with your business or not, at least get an idea and see if it makes sense for you because you never know what the future can hold. You never know what's going to happen if you're posting on social media, and you want to make sure that you are covered for what you
Yeah.
feel like you have created and have built. So, Samantha, I cannot thank you enough for all of your information and all of your feedback today. Is there anything you would like to leave the audience with today?
Oh, I can't. I mean, well, thank you so much for having me. One. Two, for anybody watching on video, there is a little neon sign behind me that I feel is very important to point out. And I'll describe it for the folks that are listening on the radio. What you see or what you're going to pretend to see in your mind, if you have the ability to do that, because not everybody does, by the way. Apparently, not everybody can picture things in their mind. I found that out the other day. Crazy. Really bizarre. What do you see? I have questions. Anyway, what is behind me is a neon sign of a pretty fat cat. Um, it definitely looks like he's trying to like climb onto a shelf of some kind, or maybe he's falling off of it. I am not sure, but for me, it is very much the reminder that we are all just barely hanging on, and give people some grace.
Oh,
You don't know what you don't
100%.
know, and that's perfectly fine, right? We're all the fat cat just trying to get back up on the shelf.
I am definitely the fat cat trying to get on the show. I was like, I love this neon sign. If you guys don't are not watching this and you're listening, go to the YouTube channel. You've got to go check this out. I love this little neon sign behind her. Oh my goodness. Samantha, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast today. Seriously.
Thank you, Kat. This was a fun one.
Yay! And to everybody else out there, I hope you had your listening ears on, especially if you're a business owner. And if not, and you know someone that owns a business, even if they're starting out, do me a favor, share this episode. Give them this
Yeah.
knowledge early on so that they don't go 5 years down the road and have to redo all the things. So share this episode out there today. And again, thank you so much for listening and being a part of the podcast. This is what continues to help us grow and help other people learn things as well. And as always, do one thing positive for someone each and every day and see the difference that it makes in your life. Catch you later. Thank you so much for tuning in to Real Chat with Kat today, where real stories meet real solutions. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review on Apple, and share this with someone who may also need to hear this as well. Let's also keep the conversation going. Follow me on socials at The Lotus Effect, connect with our incredible guests, and remember, you are never alone. Your story matters, and you have the ability and the power to rewrite it. You always have a choice. Until next time, stay strong, stay inspired, and keep showing up as the incredible, unstoppable